The most notable thing besides a beautiful wedding, beautiful couple getting married and beginning a beautiful life together, which is not what I'm gonna talk about, is the fact that we stayed at a haunted hotel.
Okay.
Now, you know me, I'm into horror stuff. I like the idea of haunting. I'm pretty skeptical about the paranormal. I can act like I'm really into it, but in my heart of hearts, I'm just, this is probably all made up, right? But that did not stop me from being very enthusiastic about the ghost tour. And this is coming from someone who's been on a few ghost tours.
It's hard for me to get enthusiastic. The two that I went on with you, one in New Orleans, and where was the other one?
London. It was the Jack the Ripper tour.
That's right. Oh boy, I kind of needed to just turn in for the night about halfway through.
Well, let me tell you why I was particularly excited about this one. Both of those ghost tours were going around a city and then like coming up to a corner and looking at a building and hearing somebody who had just been told information what to say about this thing.
Are you telling me you had an actual ghost give the tour?
Well, it wasn't that good, but it's somewhere between the original experience and that.
Which is? A
ghost tour of a hotel where you are staying. First of all, we're in a different category. And secondly, well, there's actually 3 points to this. The second point is
the points are expanding.
The guy doing the tour, and this isn't something I knew ahead of time, but the guy doing the tour wasn't just talking about things that other people had said. He was telling his own stories and being an employee for 15 years at the hotel. So many of his stories were like, this happened to me. Again, never experienced that. And then the third thing was, the bride and groom had experienced some metaphysical, unexplained phenomena, you might say.
Okay, what?
The first night in the hotel.
Well, when you're consummating a marriage.
The night before the ghost tour.
Things can go really wild when.
The night before the ghost tour. So, and also Locke told me that something happened in his room. I'll tell you about that in a second. Apparently, they wake up and the bedside table little deal with a drawer, it's a drawer. What would you call a bedside little thing that's got a drawer?
Bedside table. My bedside table's got 2 drawers, man. My previous one had 3 drawers.
I don't think that's technically a table. Like if in furniture speak, I don't think it's a table if it's got a drawer.
Bedside chest of drawers?
It's definitely not that. There's probably like a French word for it.
I'd like to get to the haunted part.
The drawer had opened in the night. Okay, well that can happen. They close the drawer and the drawer opens again before their very eyes. Now, this could be like the gravity of it could be like the floor, it's an old hotel, like the gravity can open the drawers.
Yeah.
But then, a water bottle, like a, whatever, the one that you have, the one that everybody's got.
Like a Nalgene?
No, like Hydro Flask.
Hydro Flask.
So like a metal water bottle was on that same table, and it at some point in this process began to do that thing where, like a bottle isn't quite settling and it's kind of like, kind of rotating a little bit, like right before, like a coin settling and then stopping.
Okay, yeah.
That was happening, but it was just happening indefinitely. It was just like, okay, this bottle is gonna do this.
They're just watching it.
And they stopped it and put it back down and it started doing it again. And then they were just like, okay, you can have your drawer open. I don't know exactly the sequence of events, but because I kind of heard it as they were telling a group of people, and it was enough for me to be freaked out.
I have an explanation for that. There's vibration in the hotel from like the laundry room.
There's always a natural
or the elevator shaft.
I told you I'm a skeptic.
Vibration takes care of everything I've heard so far.
But of course, and every single thing I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna tell you everything that happens on the ghost tour, but every single thing I was told, because like Locke and Shepard after the ghost tour, because Locke had heard somebody whispering in the vent at like 3 a.m. In Locke and Shepard's room. And then he actually told the guy on the ghost tour that, the guy giving the tour, and he was like, that's just because the whole system is connected. So you just heard somebody whispering in another room. He wasn't like feeding into it.
That's good.
He's maintaining credibility.
He's kind of like the Pope. He's like, I'm the only one who can tell ghost stories.
Well, no, because he had many people on the tour were saying things that had happened to them, and he was validating some things, but I actually thought it wasn't true.
He's keeping it real.
But when Locke and Shepard were, after the tour, they were like, Dad, what do you think about this? I was like, well, you wanna know what I really think? I was scared at multiple points on that ghost tour, especially the moment when we were standing at the top of the stairs and some little girls who apparently knew that the ghost tour comes by their room and they could hear the guy talking. Jay is his name. He's wearing one of those headset microphones with a speaker that's around his neck, like a tour guide does, you know what I'm saying? So that he can just speak in a normal volume, but everyone can hear him. So he's like coming by your room, Jay's there, he's doing the tour. They waited until he was in the middle of the story and they started going. And he had already just told us a story about somebody being in a room and seeing the handle move. Oh. And so then he's telling us a story, and that's when these little girls in the room start like taking their door and like shaking it. And me and Locke and Shepard were like standing a little bit down the hall. And we immediately run up next to the tour guide. Before you have time to process, this is probably somebody just playing a trick. But I still was legitimately scared.
Did the girls come out and say, gotcha?
No, they just laughed from in the room, which actually was sort of creepy. A little girl laughter through a door. But I said, having said all that, I believe that if you put me, put my back against the wall and tell me I've got to give you an honest answer, I think there's probably a natural explanation for all this. There's a reason that it happens at night. There's a reason that it happens during the so-called witching hour, after 3 a.m. That's because you've been asleep and you're waking up and your senses aren't complete. You're just pouring water on yourself now. Are you okay?
It was haunted, man. My tea was haunted.
So in other words, what I'm saying is that I think that there's probably almost always a natural explanation, but I'm not sure. I'm open to the fact that
that's not as fun.
Places can be haunted, and it's more fun to believe that the place is haunted. So, and this guy Jay, this is the other thing that happened. We're a lot of famous people have been to this hotel. In fact, the room that the bride and groom were staying in is the room that Harry Truman slept in the night that he found out that he won the presidency. He went to sleep thinking that he had lost, and they woke him up at like 2 a.m. and said, sir, you won. Huh. And then there's another room that is a room where like Al Capone would come and play cards and stuff, and they're like, he would sit right here and he could see this through this window and this window. He had both entrances covered in case the feds came and he could go out this way or whatever. So it's been around, 100 years. It's got this storied history.
Where is it?
It is outside of Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
So he's telling a story about some famous person that was on the tour, and then I can't remember who it was. So then we get to the next spot, and me and Locke and Shepard were sort of ahead of everybody, and we kind of walk up, and we're right next to him and kind of waiting for the group to gather. He was like, you look like a famous guy. You famous?
May I include you in subsequent tour mentions?
And I was like, I never know how to answer that question. So I was like, to some people.
Yeah.
And he was like, naked and afraid.
Okay, was he changing the subject, or was he thinking you were on that show?
He thought he was like, I was a guy, because I was like, no, I've been naked and afraid on YouTube. Haven't been on that show, but
naked just because
he said he said, oh, there's a guy on season so and so, Naked and Afraid, that looked a lot like you. But then the next day, when I see Jay now of course we're all masked as we're walking around this thing, so and of course if you don't watch our content regularly and you see me now, you may not immediately recognize me because my hair is so different. So the next day, he's like, hey man, Good Mythical Morning, of course. I didn't put it together. Like my daughter watches a lot and I watch it with her. So love what you guys do. But
still, Naked and Afraid.
I thought you were from Naked and Afraid.
You should really look into that. You got demoted overnight, man.
So shout out to Jay at the Elms Hotel, historic hotel. They have a European lap pool in the basement. Do you know what a European
it's like
lap
an
pool
indoor,
is?
it's just like a ditch that.
It's a track that goes in a circle that you swim.
Oh, a track?
It's like it's a canal.
It's a ring.
That's wide.
It's a moat.
That's wide enough for a person to swim in, and it goes in a circle. It's kind of awesome. And when you get to the end of one side, there's
a circle.
There's
little
no
end.
Well, it's an oval. It's a very long oval like this.
Oh, wow.
At one end of the oval, at one end of the oval, there's a ghost, of course.
Right.
But
Naked and afraid.
at the other end, there's a hot tub and a cold plunge pool right next to each other. So we had fun kind of going back and forth between those. But
I've never seen a racetrack made of water.
There was a part of me that was just like, how necessary is this? Because it couldn't just
out?
be, oh, I swam in it. It's like, oh yeah.
What was it like banking the corners? NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was about to come right out of that thing.
Well, as long as you are going around those corners, you're like feet and hands hitting?
It's big.
Wow.
It's
in the
very
bottom of a
cool.
hotel. They probably just were gonna make a pool and then they were like, you know what? Let's just fill in the middle except for a little bit and let's call it a European swim track. No one will know.
I think it's the only European lap pool in America.
What?
That's what they said, I think.
Okay,
I mean, I said in Missouri.
Hey, listen, once you start blurring the lines of truth with ghost tours, you can say anything you want. You can't believe these people. They're not credible anymore. And neither are you.
I'll tell you right now, if you have an opportunity to go into a European lap pool, and if you're in America, that may only be available to you in the Elms Hotel.
Apparently.
In Missouri. Excelsior Springs, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
You should go do it and swim some laps.